Welcome to a new episode of Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid Ahmed. Today we get to talk with Marylyn King. She's the entrepreneur expert, personal branding expert, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself, how she is a personal branding expert. Hi, Marylyn. Thanks for coming on to the podcast.
Hi, Junaid. Thank you for scheduling time with me. I'm really pleased to do this.
You're welcome. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the personal branding expertise business.
Well, this is my year. I set out at the beginning of the year to leverage my expertise that I've accumulated over decades of working with experts in all kinds of fields, learning how to listen, draw out their expertise, help them ferret out what needs to be communicated, what doesn't, what order it needs to be communicated in, all of that so that their audiences can understand what it is that they're experts about.
Nice.
I've done this in the corporate environment, the public environment. I worked at the International Monetary Fund for several years.
Wow.
I've also worked in nonprofits, and so now this is my year to work for myself as an entrepreneur, really enabling other entrepreneurs to get their message out.
That's an amazing story. That's what I set out myself to be for this year as well. That this year I'm going to do something different. And I'm doing this podcast to begin with.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, I wanted to be a podcast host. And I just didn't know because I always wanted to do it with somebody else as a co-host, and we would bounce around ideas. But then I was like, you know what? I have so many passions, so many different hobbies. Why not I just do podcasting as a hobby and see where it goes?
Sure.
So here we are, and now I'm, talking to the expert of the expert in personal branding.
So so did you start from scratch this year learning the technology of doing podcasts, or did you already know that?
So I've already knew technologies that go into audio production and video production, and I knew about 6 years ago I had a podcast that I did with my cousins. We did a few episodes, but since we were in different time zones, we weren't able to continue. But I knew the technologies and I knew where to go to get your podcast submitted to Apple and the other platforms. But then this year, a new player came to town called Anchor FM. And Anchor makes it super easy for you to get your own podcast started. Just like we have YouTube, we have Facebook, we have LinkedIn, these small social networking platforms where you just go there, create your account, and you're on the go. You have your own profile page, you put in the work and you have content up there. So Anchor took that same methodology and they said, hey, you know what? We have smartphones. People are talking on smartphones. And we have the VoIP technology where people can talk to each other over FaceTime, over Messenger, over WhatsApp, all over the world. Why not you leverage that technology to actually record their podcast? So they launched the Anchor FM mobile app, which actually enables you to start off a podcast from the beginning. And looking at that, I was like, whoa, this just made my life so much easier. And sure, I use other tools to master my audio, but I, go back to Anchor, I upload my audio, and then it's available on 10 different platforms because the way they've set it up. And it's all for free.
Oh, very nice. Well, see, I'm learning something every day when I talk with entrepreneurs. And that's one of the things I love about my new venture is that I just get to find out what other people are doing and be an enabler for them
Yeah.
in terms of helping them clarify their vision,
Mm-hmm.
and what message they want to get out.
Yeah, and that's something I was struggling with earlier on when I started this year. And I was like, okay, am I gonna do video? Am I gonna do, which direction am I gonna go with? Because I have so many passions. And I got into beekeeping earlier this year, so that's another thing that's happening. So there's so many things, right? And then I was like, you know what? Let me talk to other entrepreneurs. Let me talk to other experts and see if they can help me find what I'm good at. And about 2 months ago, one of the LinkedIn local hosts, Rod Ferrier, he called me up and he's like, you should talk about video production because he saw me recording video at some of the LinkedIn local events. And he's like, looks like you know what's up. So I dug around and I said, you know what? I have been recording video for the past 10 years. Why not me talk about it? So I focused on that specific area, and I have been building up a library of content to actually offer a course that talks about video production using your smartphone. So besides just the podcast where I talk about these hobbies, I am, also focusing on building these other things out that can help others all for free, essentially.
Yeah, interesting. So, how do you connect with people, other entrepreneurs? Because we all need your kind of expertise in video production,
Sure.
and I'll
Mhm.
welcome the exposure through your podcast as well.
Absolutely. So, what happens is I've connected with a lot of different communities through LinkedIn and through Facebook. Through LinkedIn, we have some groups here, like the LinkedIn Podcasters group. There's a group, the Misfits group. And then Facebook has been really active around entrepreneurs and around other podcasters because they have a much more mature um, messaging platform, a group platform. So I'm probably part of 4 or 5 different uh, Facebook groups that are entrepreneur focused or podcast focused or basically different area focused. And I've been able to connect with entrepreneurs on there, been able to connect with people to bring on the show from there. And I'm also reaching out to the many connections I've built over the years because, I've been working for over 15 years as well. And I've connected with a lot of people through different walks of life, be it video, be it work. And I looked into what they're passionate about. And I go back to them and talk to them about their passions on the podcast. So that's one of the ways that I've been able to connect with the experts, with other entrepreneurs.
Very good. One of the things that I have found throughout my career in talking with experts is
Yeah.
that they often just don't know where to begin um,
Mm,
talking about their expertise. And that's one of the things that I have always been very successful at
hmm.
figuring out,
Yeah.
because I can take the approach with them that um, I'm not the expert in the content, I'm the expert
Hmm.
in communicating.
Yeah.
And so I figure out what kinds of questions to ask so
Hmm.
that I can understand more about their expertise.
Yeah.
And then they can answer my questions, and we just develop a rapport, and the
Hmm.
story unfolds. And I've always done a lot of writing with my work. So I
Nice.
find that writing is a discovery process.
Oh, absolutely.
So as soon as you think you know something and say,
Hmm.
okay, now I'm ready to write,
Hmm.
you start
Think again.
writing and then you find, oh, now I realize that there's something I don't quite understand. And so you go back to the content expert,
Hmm.
and it's an iterative process that is always interesting, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. And being in the software world myself, everything is iterative. Even software that is being developed is an iterative process. You start with the basics. It's like, okay, what's the basic requirements? Let's start building it. Let's see what the different flows are. And like you said, you like to talk with people, understand what their problems are, so we can figure out a solution for them. And you're on point when you say, writing is a discovery process, because we might think like that, you've got it. And I stumble upon these things myself. I'll start writing about something, and as I'm writing, I'll say, okay, wait, I need to go back and research, about this specific topic. Let me go find out what other people are talking about it, because there's absolutely other people talking about it.
Yes, exactly.
And
Yeah.
it's so cool that, it's like, oh, okay, that's how they're doing. Okay, so then you give your own spin on it and bring it into your world. And apparently November is the month of novel writing or
Yes.
something.
Yeah. The
And
write a novel in a month challenge.
yeah, so I'm following Pat Flynn of Smart Passive Income. I'm not sure if you've heard of him. um,
No, I haven't.
Okay, so smartpassiveincome.com is the site that Pat Flynn runs, and I'm following him on Instagram, and he's so far written 15,000 words already, because he's writing 1,000 words a day doing the same challenge. And I was like, oh my God, I wish I had taken it, because one of my goals for this year was also to write a book. But I haven't been able to follow through with it, because there's only so many hours in the day, and being a parent, being, having to raise three kids, and my wife also having a full-time job. There's only so much we can do in a day. So I was like, I'm going to focus on one thing at a time, and go to the next thing after that.
Well, it
What
is
about
a matter
yeah?
of, prioritization,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm someone that, I'm interested in so many things. And one
Mm-hmm.
of my constant challenges is to say, okay, well, let's slow down, Marilyn. Let's take one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
and I love just getting deep into one thing and really uh, mastering it, or, just getting immersed in it. Uh,
Oh,
and it takes a lot of commitment to stick with something. So I just encourage you. I know life brings a
mm-hmm.
lot of distractions
Oh yeah.
our way, and we have to just figure out, okay, let's set aside time that's non-negotiable and just
Yeah.
work at it.
No, you're absolutely right. Because when I said I wanted to be a beekeeper, I had to dedicate time. I had to take a course, an 8-week course, and spend 2 to 4 hours a week into reading the book, reading a material, and going to the class, and conversing with the instructors, and understanding, and doing all that work. So that did require dedication. And when I actually got my beehives, I'm like, okay, now I got to spend at least a couple hours a week, tend to the bees, make sure they're fed, make sure everything is in place, in order. And it took time away from other hobbies that I might have had, because last year I all I did was cycling. I did a lot of cycling, and this year I didn't do any cycling at all.
Yeah.
So
Well, we
absolutely.
t- we do as a culture, I think, just tend to spread ourselves too thin. And
Yeah, that is so true.
yeah.
We have a lot of aspiration, and we think we can. do it all.
Mhm.
It's crazy.
Well, and I find as I talk with entrepreneurs, uh,
Hmm.
just by nature of being an entrepreneur, they
Yeah.
are curious about life. They are continual learners. And I think that we as a group of entrepreneurs are particularly challenged in the
Hmm.
area of just focusing on one thing and doing it uh, because our minds are so active. And that's one of the things that I really work on with my clients is
Yeah.
honing in on what is the one thing that really drives them, that excites them, and is in tune with who they are at their core. And I love using
Yeah.
story to draw that out of them, uh,
Hmm.
to find out, we talk about events in their lives, and they could be very small events. I'm not talking about anything, that you would necessarily post on Facebook or something as, oh, look at this
Yeah.
great event. I'm talking about just little moments in our lives
Hmm.
that make us realize something about ourselves, our values, the people around us, and how we want to interact with them, what kind of impact we want to make on the world.
Yeah.
And when we look at those moments and really explore all those facets of those moments, then I think we can draw out, okay, who is the real you inside
Yeah.
of this whole public persona you have? And my goal with the services that I render is
Hmm.
for entrepreneurs to be able to enjoy marketing their business
Yeah.
because it should just be a natural expression of who they are. And
Absolutely.
and what their personal connection is with their business. Why are they in
Yeah.
that business? Why do they
Hmm.
want to serve the people that they serve? Um,
Yeah.
what kind of experience do they want to create for their clients? And
Yeah.
once they're clear on that, then marketing becomes a very natural thing for them. And they no longer have to say, oh, now I have to figure out how to market my product or market my
Right.
service or, you know, it just removes that whole dread aspect that I find a lot of people have.
Yeah.
Um,
What's funny about marketing that you're mentioning? For the longest time, marketing and advertising was the same thing, and this comes from Seth Godin's latest book he just dropped earlier this week, and he calls it "This is Marketing," and he talks about like what is marketing, and talking about your favorite team, that's marketing. Talking about if you're convincing your boss to give you a raise, that's marketing. So marketing is essentially, you know, telling somebody or sharing what you're passionate about, not not basically advertising.
Yes, sharing what
And
you're passionate about, and I would add to that for the
yeah,
benefit of the person that you're sharing it with,
absolutely. Yeah.
not for your own benefit, not for self
Mhm.
aggrandizement. And I think, a
No.
lot of entrepreneurs who are very, in the service industries, they're very giving and
Hmm.
generous and sometimes even altruistic in their outlook tend to
Yeah.
think, oh, I don't want to market because, it just seems salesy. But it's really
Yeah.
the opposite that for them to make the good impact that they want to
Hmm.
make, they need
Yeah.
to share that enthusiasm with the
They do.
people that need that benefit. Um,
Hmm.
and that I thought of that particularly recently. I was at a networking event, and
Hmm.
someone, it was a several day event, and someone had flown in from Australia here to
Oh
the
wow.
US. Well, actually, it was in
Hmm.
Canada. Um,
Yeah.
so he had severe jet lag. Here we
Hmm.
were in a session together, and he was struggling because he just had not had any sleep, and he couldn't,
Yeah.
and he hadn't been able to sleep because
Hmm.
of the severe time difference.
Yeah.
So, I could see his pain, and I had a solution for him. I, since I too was traveling, I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to be in that situation myself, just, unable
Yeah.
to sleep because of the disruption in my schedule. So I
Hmm.
had brought along these non-narcotic
Hmm.
sleeping aids, little tablet that has been approved by sleep specialists as, non-habit forming and
Uh-huh.
not at all harmful. And it's not really a sleeping pill. It's, a whole
Uh-huh.
different thing. I listened to a podcast actually from
Yeah.
a neuroscientist describing this chemical.
Nice.
So I
Hmm.
knew it was completely safe, and I have used it on occasion. It's very effective. And I had it
Hmm.
in my suitcase in my hotel
Yeah.
room. And
Yeah.
so I told him about it. I was so eager to help him out by
Yeah.
offering him the solution that I had. So
Yeah.
I said, on our next break, I'll run back to my room because, I was right there staying in the same hotel as the conference. I said,
Yeah.
I'll run back to my room and get some for you. And so we met up
Hmm.
afterwards. I gave them to him. And,
Hmm.
I described for him the whole neuroscience behind it so that he could be
Yeah.
sure that, I was not being a drug pusher or anything like that. And it was so
Uh-huh.
easy
Nice.
because I could see he had a need. I had a
Yeah.
solution that I
Hmm.
firmly believed in, and it could help him. And I just wanted to help him. And I eagerly shared it. He eagerly accepted. And then we talked the
Nice.
next day, and yes, he was able to get a good night's sleep. And then I thought,
Nice.
that's what marketing is. If
That
you
is. Yeah.
believe in your product or your service and you believe in
Hmm.
yourself, you're committed to the mission of your business, then you want to see that mission succeed because it will help all the people that you serve.
Absolutely. That is so right. That's on point. And the book in the book he talks about exactly similar stories, and I'm sure you've heard of Seth Godin. He
Yes,
loves telling stories,
yes, yes.
and those stories are so well thought out, and you see the picture clear as day. Like, wow,
Hmm. Oh, yeah.
thank you so much for giving me that reference. Now I know exactly what's going on, and it's just amazing. And we're still stuck in that um pre internet marketing concept. You gotta market to everybody. No, you don't need to market to everybody. You need to figure out who is in need of the service, and then you can offer the service, or even you know come up with that service.
Yes.
So yeah, it was pretty great. Absolutely fascinated by him. The other ways that I have been able to connect with people is through LinkedIn, of course. LinkedIn's been huge, and posting videos that I have been. I joined the 30 Days of Videos challenge that Rob House created, where you're basically sharing your content why or content how in your video. Either you're talking about how to do something or why you're doing something. And what that is doing is that's bringing to light your humanity as a person, as an individual, as a professional, and as you part with this knowledge, you're creating value for other people. So that's another way to connect with new people. So many different ways, and looks like you've got you've got the talent to, help these entrepreneurs focus on the one expertise that they should be focusing on. And I think if that would be one way that I would recommend, if you were to, do anything, that would be one thing that I would recommend. And we actually have a group chat set up for the 30 days of videos content league, and there's at least how many people? 31 people in here in this conversation, and they're from all walks of life, all different professions, and all over the United States. Actually, there's even some from Australia in here, Australia and Canada.
Oh,
So I
yeah,
would
very.
definitely recommend, check that out. I'll forward you the hashtag 30 days of videos so you can check out what other people are sharing and talking
Yes,
about.
yes. Okay, very good.
Yeah. So, what is one hobby that, if you had the opportunity to do, that you would do
Well,
or got into?
there. I thought about that since you had that in the question in advance,
Mm-hmm.
and I could go in that direction, but I guess actually
Yeah.
what I would rather, since that's not really happening right now, what I
Yeah.
would really like to say is that I did choose a hobby in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
and that is entrepreneurship. Um,
Yeah.
and so for the last few years, I've really been immersing myself in that. And
Mm-hmm.
so focusing on listening to podcasts about it, reading books about it, attending
Yeah.
webinars, going to networking events, and really
Mm-hmm.
making connections with other entrepreneurs, learning the whole, um, I guess I hate to use the word mindset because that's overused right now, but I do find
Yeah.
that when I talk with people who are not entrepreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
and I try to tell them about all that I'm learning and doing and building my own business,
Yeah.
they just don't understand. Uh,
Mm.
they're mildly interested sometimes,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
sometimes not. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but they're just sort of blank about, oh, well, that sounds good. Good for you, Marilyn.
That's
But they have
interesting.
nothing to offer and they don't understand what I'm talking about. Um,
Oh,
I mean, not that they don't understand, but it's just not their
sure.
way of thinking.
Yeah.
And, and so then when I surround myself by entrepreneurs and
Mm-hmm.
engage in all of these activities, I find, yes,
Yeah.
we all have something that we share, even though we're in, different fields of expertise, of course.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it's sort of like when you travel abroad and you're suddenly in a different culture and you realize, well, yeah, people, you might be able to say a few phrases in the other language. You might even know more. Um,
Yeah.
you can still get by, but you don't really understand what's going on around
No.
you.
Yeah.
And so that's what I have found this entrepreneurial journey to be like, in the sense that I am now conversant, I'm culturally entrenched in that. And
Yeah.
other people who are not that I'm friends with
Hmm.
or former colleagues with, I just really can't
Yeah.
share that with them because they're in another culture. Um, so,
No, that is so
so
true.
my hobby, I guess I would say now, is really cultivating more of those relationships with people
Hmm.
that I can learn from and who can learn from me and, where we can just support each other.
No, that's really awesome. And more of us as entrepreneurs need to reach out and learn from each other because at the end of the day, we can help each other in so many different ways that it's just amazing.
Mm,
Um, and everybody brings in their own expertise, and having a team is absolutely better than working alone at anything at all.
yes. Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Marilyn, this was really an excellent conversation. We learned a lot about you. We learned about a lot about expertise and how to manage them, and really enjoyed this chat with you. Uh, where can people find you if they wanted to connect with
Well,
you?
thank you, Junaid. I enjoyed our talk as well. And since my whole aim of working with people is to get them to develop their personal brand such that they become the expert that the right clients would want to choose, I have named
Hmm.
my business The Expert of Choice. So
Nice.
people can find me at theexpertofchoice.com. And
Perfect.
I have several services that I offer right now that I have branded
Hmm.
as message intended,
Hmm.
because your personal brand, we all have a personal brand, whether we know it or not,
Oh yeah.
because it's really just how people experience you. So,
Hmm.
my goal is for entrepreneurs to really think about their personal brand, make it
Yeah.
genuine, but make it conscious, and make
Yeah.
sure that the message you're sending out is what you intend. So you can find me at theexpertofchoice.com.
Perfect. I will include the link in the show notes as well as your profile ID or profile link for LinkedIn so people can get in touch with you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Janae.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast.
Okay.